Hello, Captain. Ready for the big week?
Yes, but I've only got 400 kilograms of equipment for the boat, so I like to think that was ballast.
Well, I just added another 20 because I can't fit all the meat, all the frozen meat. I can't fit anything else in my cabin, so it's sitting in your boat now.
So, well, I just want to point out I'm vegetarian now.
Oh no!
So,
Oh, okay.
Finally vegan, so that's like a waste of time. That'll be good. I bet the road's not a friend of ours. Look at this. Right, nice and clean before we leave.
So we've left Calypso Bay after having some lunch and a couple of Guinnesses, and we're finally sailing. We've come right around the corner and now we're on a beam reach, so that's good. There was a little break in the weather, but it's still looking a little bit shitty, unfortunately. Here's Kermadec, double reefed, jib furled. Oh. Luna is storming home. We're just heaving to here for a minute while Rob pulls one of his reefs out. Gee, the current is really strong here. So we're mid-flood tide, and just around this corner is the gap between South Stradbroke and North Stradbroke Island. So this is where all the water's flowing in, and the tide is really, really strong. But we're about to cross over that inlet, and we're going to have the tide with us. So we're going to have a completely different experience. Not sure if you can tell, but we're really drifting here on the tide. Whew. Well, that got a bit spicy there for a minute, but that's the gap between North and South Straddy, and so that's where the tide's flooding in at the moment. So I've now got tide with me, and we're downwind, and I've got my second reef in because it's getting a bit spicy, and we're all good. I just love the colour of the water out here. I guess that's just clean ocean water flooding in. While I was pulling my reef in, Rob's snuck up ahead. I wouldn't believe this, but we're now doing 6.5 to 7 knots because we've got about 2 knots of tide up our backside, plus a good downwind breeze as well. So we're actually cruising now. Well, good morning. We had a lovely night at Canipa Point. A little bit of luxury on our trip, seeing as Rob's a member. It's pretty handy. So today's plan, if it comes together, is we're going to sail right up the inside of Stradbroke Island, up to Amity Point, which is the gap between Stradbroke and Moreton Island. And then we'll assess conditions as to whether we can sail across to the bottom of Moreton Island and anchor in Days Gutter tonight. It's all going to be weather dependent and dependent on the sea state. The tide will turn to coming in at about 1 o'clock or 1:30, so we won't make the crossing until the tide's coming in, otherwise we could get sucked out into the ocean. So as usual, it's all dependent on the weatherman. So Captain Rob, what was your highlight today?
Ooh, highlight today, not running aground, of course, that's always a bonus. And it was just an epic sail. It was the longest sail I've had in sailing vessel Kermadec. We achieved all objectives. Champagne sailing. I couldn't be happier.
I would have personally chickened out at Eel Island because it's a bit spicy there, but with your encouragement, I kept going. I saw a dolphin. I had a dolphin on my bow. I did run the ground, but I managed to just.
I looked on the chart after that. I looked and you went exactly on the little sandbar on that.
Yeah.
So you aced it. You got right on top of it.
Well, I just scandalised the sail, just dropped the gaff, pulled up both my foils, and I just drifted sideways off, down and off again. Yeah, there's no drama.
I didn't have enough for the centreboard, but I had enough for the keel. So that's the only thing with a pocket ship. It does draw a little bit of water, but it's not the end of the world. But when you do the world's worst jibe, for example, like I did yesterday, it looks after you. So it's got some pluses and minuses.
What could possibly go wrong? Watch that current.
Don't tell me that. The paddles bend a bit.
Yeah, they do, don't they? and Judy just got back from France and they're teaching me how it's done. I think I've got all the main food groups. Bread, cured meat, white wine,